Hi, and welcome to our video for today. I wanted to show you some of the new products that are now available in our annual catalog that just went live on Tuesday. I think that there are just some beautiful, beautiful papers as well as some super cute stuff. But today I'm going to work with one of what I think is probably one of our prettiest papers that I've ever seen. But I'm going to show you how to make some really beautiful cards that highlight this designer series paper and kind of minimize the amount of work that you need to do to have beautiful cards. So with that said, first off, I'm going to show you kind of some of the new dies that we have. There's actually a stamp set that goes with this that I'll be using later, but this is called the Sentimental Framing Dies. And these dies are just beautiful. They have these little scrolling things around the edges and they're frames. And so we're actually going to use one of these in our card kit today, but there's just some really pretty things. So I wanted to kind of show you what they were before I get to that particular card. And then today what we're going to be using is this new paper that is called the Beautiful Gallery Designer Series paper. I wanted to make sure I didn't give you the wrong name. So you will see several of the papers that we're going to be using today, but just to kind of highlight these, let me kind of thumb through some of these so that you can see how pretty this is. I mean, these papers are just gorgeous. So here's the front, and then here's the back. They have just some beautiful designs on here. In addition to that, we have this really pretty scene with some flowers on the back that you can either color or use them the way they are. In addition to that, there's a really pretty design here with just a nice muted Lost Lagoon type color. Also, we have something like this. This reminds me of those old botanical cards that you would see. And that's really pretty. And then I love this green on the back. So pretty. Lots that you can do with that. And then there's this really pretty scene. The nice thing is, since this is for the annual catalog, I think this would make a great paper for Christmas. With like a little sleigh in the front. Anyway, I think it'd just be really pretty. And then there's the back, which is nice. Then we have this one, which is gorgeous. And then another snowy muted scene on the back. We have this one, which is really nice. I almost used this today in one of our cards, but I just ended up picking something else with this really pretty background. And you see this damask pattern, and we're actually going to be using an embossing folder that uses this same pattern in it in one of the cards today. And then we have this, and that is the back, which is really nice for a muted background. And then I love this paper. We are going to be using this in one of our cards today. Super pretty. And I love the back. It's kind of muted, but it's kind of a vanilla beige, kind of a light, misty moonlight. Just really pretty. Here's another paper that we're going to be using in our cards today. Just really serene, and the back is really nice. And then here is the final paper we're going to be using in our cards today. We're going to make 3 cards. And then here's the back of this one. And then I think, oh, here's one more. I don't think we've shown this one. And then this is the back, which is really nice. So if you place a $40 order between now and next Thursday, which is, let me get the date. Today's the 9th. Let me grab the date. I should have looked at this ahead of time. Next Thursday is the 15th. So if you order between now and Thursday the 15th, then you will get a card kit from me for free as a thank you gift. And it will be using the cards that we are using. The only thing that you will need to complete your cards is I am primarily using this stamp set, which is the Beautiful Motifs. And we're going to be using different words. But obviously, if you don't have this, you could use words that you already have. But I love the stamps in this. I have not used this stamp yet, but I will probably use this for a club card kit here in the next few months. And I'm looking forward to putting that in there because I just think it's really pretty. And then the dies on this are just great. I didn't use any of these dies today, but I did use some out of the other packet, but or stamp set. And so these are really nice. This is the other bundle that comes in this particular suite. It's called Gallery Blooms. And it has some really pretty flowers. I did use some of these flowers on the insides of the card. And again, if you don't have this particular set, you could use something else that you want. And then these are the dies. This is actually like a frame. And whenever you put it on your paper, it actually cuts out both of them. I did not use this on our cards today, but we will definitely be doing that on our club cards here in the next few months. If you would like to join my email list, you can do that by going to inkycreationsbylinda.com, and you can use this QR code to shop. And again, if your order is $40 or more, I will send you a free card kit to make the 3 cards that we're making today. This is the damask embossing folder that we're going to be using, and you will see that on the 3rd card that we do today. So let's go ahead and get started. Our first card is going to use one of our new in colors, which is the Secret Sea. Such a pretty set. And beautiful color. It's really interesting. It's not black and it's not blue, but it's kind of a cross between the two, and it's just really pretty. So this is just a 4 by 5 1/4 card, or I'm sorry, I'm giving you the wrong measurements. It is a 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 scored at 4 1/4 and just folded in half. Okay, so we're going to take that. And then we are just going to take some adhesive, and I have a piece of 4 by 5 1/4 white that I embossed with the plaster painting embossing folder. I love that embossing folder. It's probably one of my favorites right now. But I tell you what, there's a new one that just came out with that. I think it's, I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, Kintsugi Inspirations or something along those lines. And that embossing folder looks really pretty. So I actually ordered it, and I have it sitting here in a box, and I have not gotten it out and played with it yet. So if I fall in love with that set the way I think I'm going to, we will probably do something with that one next week. All right, so then you will have 2 pieces of designer series paper. And one of these is just the back of the other one. And these are each 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. And all we're going to do is kind of glue these at an angle. I hope you can see this. At an angle. And then we are going to pop it up with dimensionals on our card front. So first, let's kind of glue these at an angle. And I'm going to grab my dimensionals. Because I want to make sure that we can pop this up. So let's just put a little bit of adhesive in the middle. And then kind of just, there's no rhyme or reason to this. I usually just try to make it go in an angle so I can have it the way I want it. And then I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of this so that I can pop it up a little bit. I hope you guys are ready for the weekend. It's always nice to get to Friday. All right. You know, I should probably put one in the middle also, so let me grab one more. Here we go. And that way, okay, I've already taken the tops off of those. All right, so you can obviously put this any way you want. I'm going to put mine like this and just kind of put it in the middle of the card. The nice thing is when you're putting things at an angle like that, there's no straight versus not straight, so you can put it on however you want. You will also have a small strip of white cardstock that is a 1/2 inch by, I don't know, how long is this? 4 inches wide. And we will use this to do our stamping. So we are going to use the Secret C, which is one of the new ink colors that is just so pretty. And it's the same color as the card base here. And we are going to use this and stamp Thinking of You. And this comes from the stamp set that is the Beautiful Motifs. And I really like, I'll get that over here in just a second. I really like the words and stuff that they have on that one. They're just really nice. There we go. And then we are just going to take our scissors. I did not bring my stuff over here. I left it on my other desk. And we are just going to kind of angle this with our snips. So, you know, you don't have to own any special kind of punches or dies. Just a pair of scissors will do the trick. All right, let me close this up before I stick my finger in it, because I have been known to do that once or twice before. All right, so before we adhere this down onto our card, I want to use some of our Basic Essentials twine. And I pulled out the white from this package. This package is great because it has 5 different colors in it. Thought I had it over here, but I'm not seeing it. It's probably right in front of my face somewhere. Oh, here it is. So here it is. It's called Baker's Twine Essentials Pack. And it has like a gray, a black, a vanilla, and then we're going to use the white, and then there's also like a crumb cake, and we're going to use that one on some of the cards too. And we are just going to tie a single bow, and I do want to make my loops a little bigger than I normally would, because I'm going to put them underneath the sentiment, and I don't want them to not show up. So it doesn't have to be super big, but I also don't want it to be really tiny. Okay, so I'm just going to cut this, and then I'll trim it in a minute. So let's see. I'm going to take it and just kind of, I'm going to put a glue dot on it, if I can keep from sticking it to myself. Here we go. And then we are just going to put this to where it is like sideways on the center part of your sentiment. And then we will use dimensionals, whoops, and we will flip it over and then have it to where it is on our card. Okay, so let me grab some dimensionals. I'm going to use the little ones for these, and then we will, and if you want to put another dimensional on top of the twine, you can. Usually the glue dot holds it down fine, so I don't usually worry about doing that, but if that's something that you would like to do, you certainly can. And then we are going to put this kind of in the middle and try to keep this straight. Here we go. And then we will just kind of trim the edges of our twine to where it's not super long. And then we have it kind of like that. So the only other thing that we're going to do on this card is actually we're going to do the inside as well, but on the outside we're going to put some of these are called pressed flower motifs. I don't know if you can see that real well, and it's really pretty. They're actually kind of heavy, which is funny, but I'm going to use a few of these and just put these on the card. They're kind of a copper look almost, or a metallic, but they're not shiny at all. They're kind of rustic looking, and I just think they're really pretty. They just kind of add something to your card without, you know, making it to where it's so fancy that it takes away from the beautiful paper that you already have. So this is card number 1. And it says, thinking of you. Oh, you know what? Let's do the inside. I almost forgot that. Let me grab some scratch paper. Here we go. And we are just going to take, I'm still going to use our Secret C stamp, or ink pad rather. And I am going to stamp, I'm just going to put like a little bit of one of these flowers on there. And I just kind of want to put the head of it, because I'm probably going to use the same flower in the next stamp too. But that way I can kind of give it a little bit of something without giving it too much. And then we're just going to adhere this to the inside of our card. Put this over here so I can find it again, because I'll probably be looking for it here in just a couple minutes. So I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive on the back of this. And again, I'm sure I've probably said this before, but I tend to not put adhesive in the middle part on the inside because I don't want it to leave like streaks. I would rather it just be around the edges where it's not quite as noticeable. And then we will just center that, press it down, and then there is card number 1. You will receive in your card kit, if you place your order with me, you will receive everything you see here. So you will get the twine, you will get enough embellishments to do this. You will not get any extras, but for example, with this card, you will have 3 embellishments. And so I will send you that along with envelopes. So you will have all of that to make your card. All right, so there's card number 1. In a few minutes, I'll get you to tell me which one is your favorite. All right, so for card number 2, we are going to do one that has a basic beige card base. And this is where, this is really fun. This is where I used that die that I was showing from the sentimental frame, but it just leaves really pretty and just kind of intricate edges on it, which is really nice. All right, so you will have a piece. This is 4 1/4 by 11 actually, and then I cut off I think 1 1/4. So all total it's 4 1/4 by 9 3/4, and it is folded at 4 1/4. Okay, so we are going to, is that right? Is that 4 1/4? I believe it is. Yes, it is. Okay, so or 5 1/2, whichever way you want to look at it. So you will have a piece of designer series paper that is 4 by 4. So we are going to adhere that to the front. This paper is just so pretty. I mean, you really do not have to do a lot of fancy stuff to make these cards just really pretty. The other thing that I like about them is, to me, you could even use them for some masculine birthday cards or something along those lines, to where they weren't real girly looking, which is kind of fun. All right, so let's go ahead and do our inside, and then we'll come back and finish up the front. So for the inside, you will have a piece of crumb cake that is 4 by 5 1/4. And I told you we were going to use that same stamp, so let me clean it really quick so that we can do that and I don't mix my Secret C ink in another ink pad, because we don't want to do that. All right. So I am going to use Early Espresso ink on this one. And so I am just going to take my ink, and again, I'm just going to use kind of the heads of these flowers. I'm not going to do the whole thing. And then we are just going to put some in the bottom left corner. I think this is a really pretty stamp. It's kind of, you know, a little bit different. I don't oftentimes do a lot of stuff that's not fun and pretty and things like that. So it's kind of nice to, you know, step outside of our comfort zone every now and then. All right, so we're just going to put some adhesive on the back of this and then put this on the inside of our card. I actually have a graduation card that I need to put together for someone, and I was thinking that some of these papers would even be pretty for that. Just to tell someone, you know, congratulations. One of the stamps in this particular stamp set says celebrate, and I thought that might be a really good thing to have. Whoops. So you will also have this piece of DSP, and this is 4 by 1.5. So I'm going to put some adhesive on the back of this, and this is what is going to kind of be visible whenever you're looking at the front of the card. And so we are just going to line this up at the edge of our crumb cake. There we go. And so I just want to make sure none of that crumb cake is showing. And then now whenever you shut this, it looks like this, which is really kind of nice. All right, so then the only other thing you're going to do is on this label that you will have, we are going to use ink that says, or a stamp that says thank you for everything, with our Early Espresso ink. And by the way, I don't know if I said that earlier, but that's the same color ink that I used for the inside. And so let me see if I can do this, get it straight, because I feel like the light is in my way and I don't want to bump the phone and make you think everything is shaking, because it would be. All right, so then I'm going to put some dimensionals in that, but I'm going to lower this a little bit so I don't cover up any of these boats, because they're so pretty. And so let's put some dimensionals on just this one side. And so I am going to use, I think I will use the smaller ones, because that way I can kind of control where they're going a little bit easier. Well, you can control where the big ones are going too, but I don't want anything to stick out. So we'll just do 3. And you can do as many or as few as you like to do on these. And then we are just going to put this right here. Okay, so I kind of put that up on dimensionals just to give it a little bit of lift. And then I am going to use this crumb cake twine that comes in that Basic Essentials twine pack. I really, really like that twine pack. If you don't have that, oh my goodness, it's a great item to put on your order, because it's so versatile. And especially with these papers and lots of others, but especially these, you can just use it in so many different ways. You can use the white, you can use the vanilla, you can use the black, the crumb cake, and there's a gray, and some of these papers have a lot of grays in them, so you could use that as well. So we're just going to kind of trim that off, put that in our trash can. All right, so I'm going to use a glue dot. I think I need to pull these loops a little bit. They seem to be a little bit long, so we'll probably have to trim that again, which is okay. It's better to make it too long than too short. All right, and so we are just going to put this on the upper corner right here, and then have that kind of going down. Actually, I think I'm just going to leave it the length that it is. And then we will put some of our dimensionals on here. And so I am going to take a big one because I love this paper in the background. I just think it's so pretty. And it just kind of adds just a little bit of extra without too much. So I like putting these embellishments on there. And then we will take another one of these and maybe put it in the middle right there. And here is card number 2. How fun is that? Wouldn't you like to get that as a thank you card? How fun and how pretty. And then you can write your message on the inside. So that's card number 2. All right. For our last card, we are going to make one that has a green base, and this one is using Mossy Meadow, and we're also going to use that damask embossing folder so that you can see what that looks like, because it's really pretty. I don't know why, but these, well, I probably do know why. My husband loves to watch Downton Abbey, so that's probably part of it. But this reminds me so much of like something you would see in those big rooms with the wallpaper in England or something like that. But I just think it's really pretty. All right, before you glue this down, what you want to do, I'm trying to move this out of your way, is we want to take some of that crumb cake twine that we used on our last card, and we are going to wrap this around maybe a third of the way up. It's not super high up. So to do that, we're going to use our tear-in tape and sandwich our twine in that way. So let's put down a piece, just going vertically like this. We'll do another one on the other side. And then we'll peel off the top layer. I like giving myself enough room to where I can move my twine up or down. So then you're just going to peel off that top layer. I say I am. If I can get it to actually peel, most of the time it comes up no problem. Okay, and then you're going to take your twine and just kind of start it somewhere and hold it down, and I usually will kind of press it in just a little and then run it around the front. It does not have to be straight, and I'll tell you why, because we're going to actually crisscross it, if you can see that. So see how it's kind of crisscrossed, and then bring it around the back and press it down. And then what we're going to do, whoops, my thumb is stuck, and we are going to use our scissors and trim this. And then to make sure that this does not move on us, what we want to do is take another piece of your tear-in tape and put it on the top of both of those strands so that it kind of sandwiches that in. And then that way you don't have to worry about your twine coming undone, because now you've got, I don't know if you can see the piece that was on there first that we used to hold it, and then now we have one on top. I am going to go ahead and peel this off, and then we will put adhesive on the rest of this backing as well. But I usually go ahead and peel the adhesive off just because it's just a little more adhesive than that we have on the back. All right, so then we're going to grab our glue or whatever your favorite adhesive is and put some of that. Smooth that out. I don't want any big lumps. All right, and then we are just going to center this on the front of our card. one of the things that I do like about the adhesive is if it's not straight right at first, it gives me a second just to kind of move it around so that I can get it straight. All right, so we'll do the inside at the end, so I'll leave that sitting up there. So for this piece, you will have a piece of Mossy Meadow that is 3 3/8 by 3 1/4. So let me make sure I'm telling you this correctly. Yes. So the 3 3/8 is wide and the 3 1/4 is tall, because then you will also have a piece of DSP that is 3 by 3, and then you are going to cut that into 1-inch strips. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're going to line this up on your Mossy Meadow in the background. And you put just a little bit of space in between them just to kind of give it that effect. So obviously I need to glue this down and it's not straight yet. But once we glue it down, it's really kind of pretty because it makes your picture kind of extend with those small lines of green from the background in the middle. So it just kind of gives it a little bit different look than just putting a piece of DSP there. All right, so let's go ahead and try and get our edges even. Okay, I think that's, whoops, I think I have that backwards. This is why I like the multi-purpose glue, because then I can redo it. Here we go. Yeah, that's better. All right, so now we're going to do our next piece. We'll try to get it in the right direction before we lay it down this time, because that's always fun whenever we give ourselves a new adventure. Yeah, there we go. And then just put just a little bit of space there. I'm not going to press it down super hard just in case I need to move it a little bit before I finish off the last piece. But I do like to at least lay it down so that I can make sure. Yep, I think that's going to work pretty well. And then we'll put this one right here. There we go. And then maybe move this one over just a tad. Whoops. There we go. All right. There we go. And then press it down. So see, now you have like a, to me, it almost looks like a painting, and it's so pretty. And then we are going to pop this up on dimensionals and put it on our card about right here. Okay. So, I am going to put it a little closer to the top because we're going to put our sentiment down here at the bottom. But let's go ahead and grab some dimensionals, and I'm going to use the big ones for this. And then one more in the middle. All right, let's get our flowers right side up. Okay, and then we're just going to kind of put this up here and tuck it in the corner. There we go. And then you will have a piece of 1/2-inch crumb cake that's kind of a scrap piece. And so it's probably 7 to 10, maybe 3.5 inches wide. You're not going to need that much. And we are going to use a stamp that says just a note. And we're going to use the crumb cake. No, we're not. We're going to use Mossy Meadow for our ink for this. And then we will also use that same color ink on the inside. Okay. And so on this, you just kind of want to get it straight. Let me see if I can do that. And if you don't, you can always do the other side, which is what's great about cardstock. We do get two sides, which is always nice. Let's set that off to the side. And then we are just going to use our scissors and trim the edges like we did on the first card. I don't cut it super close to the edge of the letters because I do want to leave a little piece, because sometimes I like to put some of the embellishments in the corner, so it's nice to have that option. All right, so we are going to take the small dimensionals, because what we want to do is put this to where it's kind of overlapping this piece and then going down to here. And since this is up on dimensionals, I want to keep it at the same level. So I'm going to put some smaller dimensionals on the bottom and then one glue dot at the top. Okay, so let me grab the small dimensionals. We'll do one here. And we will do one down here. And then we will grab a glue dot, and I always like to use the take your pick tool because I feel like it'll pick it up and I can actually make it flat if I want to. And then let's just peel off the tops of these dimensionals, and we will kind of put this down here along the bottom. Okay, so we're going to do that. And then we will take two pieces of our crumb cake twine, and we are going to just tie a double bow. Here we go. Try to make our loops the same length, which sometimes is a little bit challenging. There we go. And then just kind of trim this off. I love making these double bows with the twine because it's really pretty easy to do, and I don't know, I think it looks a little nicer and it just adds a little bit of fullness to it. It's not quite so thin. So let's grab a glue dot and put on that. And then I am going to turn this sideways to adhere this so that I can make my bow kind of go sideways like that. And so let's put some embellishments on this. So let's grab those. Sorry, I had to find them. All right, so I'm just going to put a few. I'm not going to put a lot. I love, isn't that copper color? I don't know how well you can see that with that green. It's just so pretty. And then putting this against this beige background is just beautiful. How fun. And then we'll do one more and we'll put it down here. You know what? We're going to stick it right down there. But that gives us our 3. So we basically didn't put a lot of embellishments on these cards. We put about 3 for each one. So in your card kit, you will get 9 embellishments. And so you'll get 3 of the large ones and then 6 of the smaller ones to kind of mix and match those the way that you would like. So for the inside of our card, let's put, there's another stamp that is in, let me make sure I'm telling you the right set. Yeah, this one's actually in the Gallery Blooms, but obviously you can use any kind of stamp that you want. But we're just going to stamp this over here in the corner in the Mossy Meadow, just to kind of put something on the inside. Since this is a note card, I didn't want to really put a message in there because you may want to write your own note. So we're just going to stamp that down in the corner. Obviously, you could put it anywhere you wanted to in there. I just kind of chose to put it there. And then we are going to put a little bit of adhesive on the back. And then we will show you all the cards so you can select your favorite and decide if you want to order this set. Oh my goodness. Even if you don't get the stamps or the words, because I know a lot of you have flowers and words that you already like, but oh my goodness, this paper is just absolutely gorgeous. I think it would be great for, like I said before, masculine birthday cards. I wouldn't necessarily send them the flowers, but the boats would be beautiful. But in addition to that, I think it would make great sympathy cards, or thinking of you, or get well soon, you know, just about anything like that. So let's get all of our cards out, and I will pull this down so that you can see this. So this is our card kit for this week. And so again, if you place a $40 or more order, you will get I can't even speak. You will get enough paper, designer series paper, the twine, as well as you will get the 9 embellishments to make these cards, and everything will be packaged up for you, and you can do that. Just to let you know, the club that I am running this month, you know what? Let me grab my club cards really quick. Well, I think I misspoke because they're not where I thought they were. And so, oh, here they are. Here they are. You're in luck. So I will show you a sneak peek of our club cards this month. And registration for these ends on the 15th. So if you are interested in purchasing the card kit for these, you do not have to do the subscription. And if you go to my website at inkycreationsbylinda.com, you will see not only the subscription, but there is also toward the bottom a place where you can purchase this one card kit so that you don't have to subscribe and then cancel your subscription. And that way you can do it that way if you're interested. Another thing that I am having is on Saturday the 17th, I believe it is, I am doing a BOGO sale. You do need to be part of that Facebook group in order to participate in that BOGO sale. The way it will run is I will turn on comments at 10 o'clock in the morning, and you can comment on anything in there. All the photos will be uploaded to the albums, and you can comment that you would like that, and then there will be a Google form for you to fill out, and then you will go onto the Stampin' Up! Website, and you will place an order for the amount of BOGO items that you selected, and then I will send you an invoice to your email for the shipping to send you the free items that you picked. So if you are interested, I do have some information on my Facebook page about that. I will also be emailing out information this weekend and throughout the week. So if you would like information on that, please go to inkycreationsbylinda.com and you can sign up for my email list, and it will give you all that information. So with all that said, again, you can get this card kit to make these 3 cards for free by placing a $40 order by next Thursday. And I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Thanks, and thank you for watching. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.